Chapter 15 to 21. Hey, King Kai. Raditz appeared traversed the Snake Way in no time and appeared on King Kai's planet in just an hour. Raditz had already measured his new battle power with his scouter, it was 380,000. But unfortunately, the scouter broke once Raditz activated 3x Kaioken. The reading limit was likely below 1 million battle power. Raditz was planning to pay a visit to Bulma once he returned to ask for a more advanced scouter to be made. Ah. Raditz. You gave me a fright. King Kai jumped up in fright from Raditz's sudden appearance. He held both his hands onto his chest as if his heart was about to burst out and was doing his best to keep it put. I tried yelling for you on Earth. But it didn't seem like you noticed. Raditz said casually. Oh, I can't really hear you unless I'm focusing on you, you know? King Kai spread out his hands as if to indicate his helplessness. I see. Well, I came looking for you to ask for your help to find a few coordinates. Raditz did not beat around the bush and directly stated his intentions. You're not going to do anything bad, right? King Kai asked. No, I just want to learn a bit of knowledge from them. Raditz said. Okay, I can trust you. What planets are you looking for? You need to at least know their names, or else you'll be wasting my time. King Kai said. Yes, it's Planet Namek and Planet Yardrat. Raditz said. After a while, Raditz left with a bundle of training clothes and a dead tired King Kai laying on the grass like a dead fish. After returning to Earth, Raditz paid a visit to Bulma and asked for her to improve the scouter. He also paid Dr. Brief a visit to ask him to continue making more spaceships and also took the opportunity to refill his stock of food. It'll take me 3 months to travel to Planet Yardrat. Because I ran out of food last time I went to space. I'll just overstock just in case. Raditz did not want to end up starving to death in the middle of nowhere in space. So he stocked up 10 years' worth of food for a Saiyan. Piccolo only needs to drink water, so with Goku it'll last us 5 years. 3 months flight to there and 3 months flight back. I might also be able to stock up at Planet Yardrat, so it's more than enough. Raditz nodded his head. Though it's quite perplexing how Piccolo manages to retain his strength from only ingesting water. Is he like a plant relying on photosynthesis? Or is his body capable of separating water molecules into oxygen and hydrogen atoms and then do fusion reactions by turning hydrogen into helium and a large mass of energy? The principle would be similar to how hydrogen bombs are made. Raditz pondered over the Namekians' wondrous body. Not only were they able to regenerate any parts of their body as long as their core remains intact and they have enough energy, they only needed to drink water to survive. Raditz suddenly had an urge to dissect Piccolo to find out if he really can do hydrogen fusion reactions. He was also interested in Piccolo's cheat-like regeneration ability. Cell was a good example of exploiting a Namekian's regeneration ability with Saiyan Cell. A normal regrowth of a body part for a Namekian meant a huge loss of ki. But Cell was able to become even stronger after regenerating his whole body after he had exploded himself. This was the power of a Saiyan's Zenkai when paired with a Namekian's regeneration ability. Raditz had planned to leave for Planet Yardrat anytime soon, but Bulma had invited him to celebrate New Year's in 2 weeks. Therefore, Raditz decided to stay and celebrate New Year's before leaving, since the trip will take at least 6 months, not calculating the amount of time needed for him to master instant transmission. Raditz left the Capsule Corp with a new scouter. It was only slightly more improved and had a reading limit of 2 million battle power. He was expecting Bulma to make an even more advanced scouter by the New Year's. Raditz sensed for Piccolo's ki and flew toward him. Half an hour later, Raditz arrived in front of a meditating Piccolo. Hey, Piccolo. Raditz greeted. Raditz? What do you want? Piccolo slowly opened his eyes and stood up. I plan to travel to Planet Yardrat, do you want to come along? Raditz asked. Interesting. Of course. Count me in. Piccolo seemed to have thought the Planet Yardrat was a planet filled with strong people. He had gained a lot when Raditz brought him to train under King Kai, especially the ki amplifying technique, Kaioken. Good, Bulma is celebrating New Year's on December 31st. Come join the celebration, we're leaving after celebrating. Raditz said and left before Piccolo could even say another word. Raditz returned to Goku's home at Mtapauzu. Goku was already back and was being chided by Chi-Chi. Goku, I'm planning on flying to Planet Yardrat after celebrating New Year's. Do you want to come? Raditz asked. Yes. Of course I want to come. Goku didn't even think about it and immediately yelped out. Planet? It's in space? Chi-Chi asked in shock. Yes, it's definitely in space. Raditz nodded. That's great. Oh. You should bring Gohan as well. He'll be the first human traveling in space. Chi-Chi said excitedly. She had already learned that Raditz was from space and could easily accept that he was able to travel in space. Fine. Raditz frowned. He was about to make some excuses, but after seeing the eagerness in Chi-Chi's eyes he gave up. Great. I'll cook up a really sumptuous meal for New Year's celebration. Chi-Chi said happily. Oh, about that, Bulma invited me to celebrate New Year's at her home. You're all welcome to come as well. Raditz hurriedly said lest Chi-Chi ends up wasting her efforts. Oh. I wanted to make the meals. Chi-Chi said sadly. Why don't you help out over at Bulma then? Raditz suggested. That's a good idea. I have so many ideas for dishes to make. I'll help Bulma plan out the menu. Chi-Chi clapped her hands. Goku. What you say, you and I go for a spar. Raditz invited Goku for a spar to improve his martial arts. For a normal martial artist, they would spend most of their time honing their moves alone and occasionally spar. But Raditz knows that it would be a waste of time for him to do that. Instead, he planned to make the most of his Scion's advantages. A Scion improves the most in battles, so battles he shall do. Sure. Goku couldn't wait for the spar to begin and had already run out of the house. 2 weeks went by. Raditz would occasionally spar with Goku and Gohan. Sometimes he would do some gravity training. And sometimes, he would also fly up to the lookout and learn some Namekian language from Mr. Popo. Namekian language could always come in handy. Like if I need to make a wish with the Namekian Dragon Balls. Raditz thought positively. After getting his new scouter, Raditz had been curious about how much battle power a single fruit of Tree of Might gave. After eating a single fruit, his battle power rose from 395,000 to 445,000. Raditz continued eating another 4 fruits and his battle power rose to 610,000. I feel quite bloated. Raditz noticed that his body wasn't able to absorb all of the power contained in the fruit after eating so many of them. The more he ate, the less he gained. The first 3 fruits gave me 50,000 each, but then I made quite some lost eating the last 2 fruits. Raditz analyzed. He needed some time to fully digest all the energy contained in the fruits before he could eat more without diminished returns. But to think my battle power increased by over 200,000 just in a moment. This truly feels like doping. Raditz smiled. Because he knew these fruits were fruits for gods to eat, there was no actual harm in eating them. I got 4 more ripe fruits and 50 unripe left. After digesting the energy, I'll try out and see if the unripe ones can still give me any energy. But geez, just how many fruits did Toz waste in order for him to gain over 400,000 battle power? With the diminishing returns, and considering how he was much weaker than I am now, his weaker foundation causes him to waste even more of the energy in the fruit. Did he eat like 30 of them? Such a waste. Raditz felt regretful that he came back late. If only he had come back before Toz had started eating the fruits, he would have several dozens of ripe fruit instead of the 9 he got. Goku and Gohan would also occasionally bring Raditz around Mtapauzu for a tour and to enjoy nature. Goku was especially happy after getting his own gravity chamber. He would sometimes spar with Raditz and Gohan, sometimes do some gravity training and sometimes take Gohan to play around. Unlike in the anime, Icarus, the purple dragon appeared quite often around Goku's home and would often play with Gohan and also bring him deep into the forest. I've always thought dragons were extremely strong and powerful mythical creatures. To think there exists such weak dragons here in the Dragon Ball world. Or is it just a fake dragon and just some type of lizard that looks similar to a dragon? Raditz wondered. Because Chi-Chi wanted to help out with the celebration, the group decided to visit Bulma a day earlier. Oh my god. Is this really Bulma's home? It's so big. Chi-Chi exclaimed when they arrived at the doorsteps. Because they had flown over from the skies, Chi-Chi had taken a good look and noticed that Capsule Corp was as big as a village. For such a big area in West City to be owned by a single family, one could imagine just how rich they were. Did Chi-Chi forgot she's actually a princess? The Ox King is an actual king with a castle and his own land and endless wealth. Raditz mocked Chi-Chi in his mind. But maybe it couldn't be helped. Goku and Gohan were 2 big eaters. Each day they had to eat over 10 families worth of food. And Goku did not even have a job nor any income. If not for the money the Ox King had left them, they would probably be living in the wild hunting for their own food by now. Raditz imagined Goku's family dressed in fur clothes like cavemen running in the mountains hunting giant dinosaurs for dinner. There were a great number of stray cats, dogs and even stray dinosaurs roaming freely within Capsule Corp's premises. Since Gohan even brought Icarus with him, he and Icarus went to play with the stray animals jovially. Since they were guests, Goku and Raditz did not spar nor do any training while they stayed at Bulma's home. Instead, Raditz enjoyed watching Chi-Chi's comical expressions, which changed every once in a while as she was shocked by almost everything. Most of all, she was so shocked by seeing the maid droids prepare all the food ingredients for tomorrow. They also did a great job cleaning the house, moving the chairs and tables and all kinds of chores. Bulma generously gifted Chi-Chi a few maid droids, but for them living in Mtipauzu, they had little electricity to spare and could not support the few maid droids' battery recharging. Luckily, being rich means having practically anything. Bulma simply brought out an electricity generator capsule and gave it to Chi-Chi. Acham. Now Chi-Chi will have a more relaxing life at home. I wonder if she'll end up keeping a closer eye on Gohan's studies. Raditz had some useless thoughts. Raditz was glad to receive his ultra-stretchable training clothes from Bulma. She also made a kid size for Gohan. At least now the two Saiyans will no longer end up naked after transforming into great apes. I don't remember such a big event happening in the original storyline. Oh right. They were all kinda dead at that time. And Goku was in Planet Yardrat at that time, so they probably didn't feel like celebrating. Raditz thought because he could not recall such an event as celebrating New Year's happening in the anime. The day passed and it was now the December 31st. Krillin, Yamcha, Tien Shinhan, Chiatsu, Yajirobe, Oolong, Poiru, Master Roshi, Launch, and Turtle showed up at the celebration. But Bulma got quite a surprise. Piccolo also came. Raditz had forgotten to tell Bulma that he had invited Piccolo as well. And since everyone else had gotten along with Piccolo since their training at King Kai, only Bulma was shocked and scared silly by Piccolo's appearance. Happy New Year's! Everyone said jovially before they dug into their plates of food. Only Piccolo drank a few beverages without eating any solid food. Launch had drunk a few too many cups of alcohol and started getting intimate with Tien Shinhan in public. Tien Shinhan's face flushed from embarrassment and scurried away somewhere far away with Launch chasing after him. Yamcha had also gotten drunk and started hitting on Bulma, which earned him a very loud slap to the face. Master Roshi, also drunk, squeezed Bulma's breasts and got smashed in the head by a chair. Krillin, Chiatsu, Poiru, and Oolong laughed at Yamcha and Master Roshi in schadenfreude. Raditz, Goku, Gohan, and Yajirobe had an eating contest. Maybe because he did not join their training at King Kai's place, he had no idea just how bottomless the trio's stomachs were. Yajirobe, with his bloated stomach, looked like an inflated balloon rolled away like a ball, was obviously the first to withdraw from the eating competition. Gohan, due to his child physique, ended up being the second to withdraw from the eating competition. Raditz and Goku were closely matched, neither could pull ahead with more than 2 plates ahead of the other. Sometimes Raditz would lead, sometimes Goku. This continued for a very long time, so long the audience was so shocked their eyes were popping out and their jaws gaped so wide that even a baseball would fit in their gaping mouth. In the end, Raditz raised the white flag. But not due to being too full, instead, he was feeling nauseous from eating so much and went to the side to drink soda. Goku, for some reason, maybe because he wasn't feeling full yet, continued eating. The next day. Set off. Destination Planet Yardrat. Raditz tapped the launch off button in his spaceship. The spaceship shot off and headed towards space. Bulma had been jealous and had tried to join their space travel. But Raditz sternly rejected her, saying she was way too weak to go somewhere so far away. Considering that it only takes 5 days to fly to planet Namek from Earth with his spaceship, taking 3 months to reach planet Yardrat was indeed very far away. Although the chances for meeting space pirates were quite low, Raditz did not want to babysit Bulma after remembering the scenes from the anime when Bulma had traveled to planet Namek with Krillin and Gohan. 3 months passed. Because there was limited space in the spaceship, there was no way to bring out a gravity chamber and everyone could only share the only gravity simulation machine built in on the spaceship. Because the 4 of them had very large discrepancies in their key levels, it was impossible to accommodate each other's needs in gravity training. The group had therefore rarely used the gravity simulation machine and mostly sparred with each other. Because no one wanted to end up accidentally destroying the spaceship and suffocate to death, the 4 of them all suppressed their key levels before they sparred. Raditz and Gohan reaped the greatest gains during these 3 months. Unlike Goku and Piccolo who had spent their whole lives practicing martial arts, Raditz had only just gotten in touch with martial art. Benefiting from his Saiyan physique, Raditz's martial foundation had greatly improved, maybe his battle power did not increase by much. He had built a much stronger and better foundation, which will in return bring out greater growth in the future. Gohan was the same, he was still very young and because of Chi-Chi, Goku had not had the chance to teach Gohan any martial arts until Raditz had appeared. Gohan was very hardworking, and he became even more hardworking and serious after being praised. Raditz and Goku had praised Gohan after they had seen a visible improvement in Gohan's martial arts skills. Maybe every child liked to get acknowledged and praised. Ever since he first got praised, Gohan had worked much harder to improve his martial arts skills, and whenever he got praised again he would smile so radiantly and cutely as the 5-year-old kid he is. Even Piccolo smiled after seeing Gohan train so earnestly. Somehow, Gohan was really good at getting liked by others. After spending time with this honest and silly kid, one couldn't help but unconsciously turn friendlier toward Gohan. Goku had carelessly braved his heart and shot out ki blasts during their sparring sessions, only to earn the beating of both Piccolo and Raditz, who were scared to death by Goku's dumb actions. They were in the middle of nowhere out in the black dark space. If one of the ki blasts had landed badly and blown a hole in the spaceship, all the oxygen would have been sucked out into space and the 4 of them would have instantly suffocated to death. Gohan was too young and did not understand the severity, but both Raditz and Piccolo was cold sweating and almost had a heart attack when they saw the stupid Goku smile and shoot ki blasts at them. Only after being berated by 2 very angry Raditz and Piccolo, did Goku finally remember not to shoot any more ki blasts while they were in space. They were about to reach planet Yardrat, when they suddenly come close enough to sense several large evil ki energies fluctuation as they created chaos and mayhem on planet Yardrat. Such big ki! And so dark and evil! Goku exclaimed. Big? They don't even hold a cup against Raditz. Piccolo snorted, he had already gotten used to Raditz being the strongest of their group. Although Piccolo was not the type to change the way he treats people based solely on their strength, Piccolo did treat Raditz much better than Goku. Maybe he still remembered Raditz had helped him pass King Kai's trial. Whenever he stared at Goku it was not too hostile nor friendly, it was as if Goku owed him money. But at least he did not treat Gohan, who was just a 5-year-old kid, the same as he treats Goku. Raditz did feel bad that the 2 of them did not become as close as they did in the original story. The smile he saw from Piccolo reminded him of how Piccolo used to smile at Gohan to show how proud he was at Gohan's achievements. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them is much stronger than the rest, 3 of them are at a similar level, and the last guy is super weak. Raditz suddenly had a guess at who the group of 5 were. Soon, the spaceship approached planet Yardrat's atmosphere. They could hear loud explosions and see many white flashing lights. The group decided to get off directly and put away their spaceship, lest there was an accident and the spaceship gets ruined, so they'll end up stranded here. Ha ha ha. Too weak. Too weak. A voice shouted. Where do you think you're going? Unfortunately for you guys, I, Berter, am the fastest in the universe. A blue-skinned alien proclaimed proudly after flying past the escaping pink-skinned Yardratians and blocking their escape path. Ugh! How did I forget this? That's right, Goku only managed to get to planet Yardrat from the exploding planet Namek when he boarded the Ginyu spacespod, because the Ginyu Force were planning to go to planet Yardrat after they were done with their business in planet Namek. Since in the story have changed and there is no Namek saga, the Ginyu Force never needed to go to planet Namek, had immediately arrived here just now. Damn it! If I were a bit slower, the Yardratians might be completely exterminated. Raditz held his forehead with his right hand as he remembered the Ginyu Force was originally going to planet Yardrat. Raditz's group's appearance startled both sides, although the Yardratians were incapable of fighting back and was only trying their best to escape. Both sides stopped their actions and stared at the newcomers. Captain, their battle power is only 5,000. They must be tourists. The red-skinned alien, Jis, reported after scanning the Raditz group. What? A Namekian and Saiyans? Jis yelled in surprise once Raditz's group flew closer and both sides could finally examine each other. He easily identified Piccolo with his 2 antennae and green skin as a Namekian. Both Raditz and Gohan had their brown Saiyan tails intact and were quickly identified as Saiyans. The group composition had surprised Jis, because both the Saiyans and Ginyu Force worked for Frieza and it was impossible for Frieza's men to be with a Namekian. This long-haired monkey. I know you. You're Raditz. Didn't Vegeta report you dead? Captain Jinyu looked at the group in amusement. This is an unexpected meeting. Raditz frowned. He had planned to avoid getting involved with Frisia as much as possible while he was weak. After all, even with the Dragon Balls, if Frisia destroyed Earth or killed Piccolo, then the Dragon Balls will turn useless. Raditz was not afraid of Frisia's men since he himself had gotten a lot stronger. What he was afraid of was catching Frisia's attention. In a game, it was fun to simply rush right into a boss 1,000 times over. But in real life, a real game over was quite permanent. Worst of all, he knew that Frisia could listen in on their scouters' conversations. As such, since Captain Jinyu had already announced his name, he would more or less have caught Frisia's attention. Suddenly, the Jinyu force gathered together and gave a quick glance at each other as if to signal something. Then, they jumped forward and stood lined up horizontally. Gohan, get behind me. Goku raised his guard upon seeing the Jinyu force's suspicious movement. Piccolo didn't say anything but had a serious look while he also raised his guard against anything unexpected. Don't tell me they are going to. Raditz had a speechless expression upon seeing the Jinyu force's actions. Rikum. The human-looking alien shouted and did a side lunge to the left and raised his left fist diagonally up to his left side. Berter. The blue-skinned alien did exactly the same, except he did a side lunge to the right and raised his right fist diagonally up to his right side. Jeez. The red-skinned alien went down on his left knee and raised his arms up like an upside-down triangle and bent his wrist down outward. Goldo. A short green-skinned alien had another pair of big eyes on the sides of his head, did the same as Jeez, but went down on his right knee instead. Jinyu. The purple-skinned alien turned his back to Raditz and the others, then bent down his waist, sticking his butt up and looked at Raditz's group from between his legs. Together, we are. The Jinyu force said together and jumped around and changed their poses. The Jinyu force. Once again they shouted out together. Raditz's group stared at the ridiculous poses with dumbstruck faces. Raditz imagined a tumbleweed tumble past the Jinyu force. Wow! That was so cool! Gohan shouted. Ah! Right, no wonder his poses as the Great Saiyaman was so ridiculous. It seems he has the same taste as these fools. Raditz inwardly mocked Gohan's future self. Raditz. Even though you managed to improve yourself from your weak 1,500 battle power to 5,000. Do you think you can get away after betraying Frisia? Jinyu said imposingly. Raditz was speechless. What? Now you're scared. It's too late to regret. Jeez shouted excitedly and thought Raditz was so scared he didn't dare to even speak anymore. Goku, Gohan, and Piccolo watched from the side as if they were watching a comedy show with smiles. You guys. Don't think we'll let you go after we've taken care of Raditz. You better wipe away your smug smiles. We'll take good care of you after we're done with Raditz. And by good care, I don't mean by patting your back and massaging your shoulders. We're gonna hurt you. Jeez yelled, seemingly ticked from their smug smiles. I'll take Raditz. There are only 3 left, you can play a game of rock paper scissors and decide who gets left out. Captain Jinyu decided. Since the Jinyu force was composed of 5 men, and Raditz's group was only 4. 1 man would be left out of the fight since they had decided to fight one-on-one. Rock paper scissors. Rock paper scissors. The Jinyu force started playing a game of rock paper scissors to decide who gets left out of the battles. Damn you. Goldo, you cheated with your superpower. Jeez yelled in injustice after losing. That's true, I saw you change from rock to paper all of a sudden. Berter said. Ah. Damn it. Fine, I'm out. Goldo said in disappointment. Although he could stop time by holding his breath. But he still needed to see what hand the others had decided before he could stop time and change his own hand. Well, the superpowers in the Dragon Ball world are quite a mystery to me. I guess it's good that Goldo is out. Otherwise, the other guys might not be able to defend themselves when they wake up to see a hole in their chest once Goldo stops time. Raditz thought. He wasn't sure if he could resist Goldo's superpowers with his stronger power and had planned to sneak attack and kill Goldo first but ended up not needing to. I'll take the Saiyan runt. Jeez said. He liked to play dirty and bully others. Gohan, who was just a small kid, fit his taste. I want that guy. Rikum pointed at Goku. Then I'll take the Namekian. Berter said. After they had decided who they wanted to fight, they went through another round of rock paper scissors to decide who goes first. Alright. I go first. Rikum raised his fist and pumped. He. Alright. Let's fight. Goku flew forward to an empty clearing. A fight? You're just a maggot with 5,000 battle power. Rikum sneered. Is that so? Goku had a playful smile. I'll wipe your smile. Rikum got ticked from Goku's smile and rushed forward and sent a punch to Goku's stomach. Clap. Goku grabbed Rikum's fist effortlessly. Is that all you've got? Goku asked with a wide smile. Goku sure likes to play. But it does look fun to play like that. Raditz thought. The scouter could not easily pick up the sharp spikes in Goku's ki that happens in a split second. But Raditz, Piccolo and Gohan could sense ki and had sharp senses could easily feel the spikes in Goku's ki. Goku's base battle power was much lower than Rikum's. It was obvious that Goku had activated Kaioken in short bursts. I guess he won't gain anything from this battle. Raditz shook his head. Goku continued to playfully fight Rikum, punching him in the nose and giving him a nosebleed, then provoking Rikum to hit him. How's it possible? That maggot's only got a mere 5,000 battle power. G scanned Goku's battle power once again and yelped in shock after seeing Goku toying with Rikum. Idiots. Rikum's battle power is 65,000. It's impossible for that guy to only have a battle power of 5,000. He must be the type of fighter capable of bumping up their battle power at will. I estimate his battle power is around 80,000. Captain Jinyu said. What? How is it possible? Jis was shocked. Nothing is impossible, he is probably a naturally gifted fighter due to a mutation, like us. I'm already regretting picking Raditz. This guy must be the leader of their group. Jinyu said. But only you can handle him, Captain. So you still get to fight with him later. Jis said. Ha ha ha. That's true. Captain Jinyu laughed. The fight ended soon. Goku was slightly sweaty from activating Kaioken for so long and many times. While Rikum was a complete mess, his spacesuit was destroyed, his body and face were mixed with blood, grease, and dirt. Seeing the outcome of Rikum and after hearing their captain's explanation, none of the other Jinyu members dared to challenge Goku. It's my turn now. Piccolo had a competitive face as he stepped forward. Unlike Goku, he did not keep his ki suppressed to a low level and spiked it up for a split second when he fought. Piccolo simply released his ki. Beep. 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 The scouters on Jinyu Force repeatedly beeped after noticing the surging ki. What? His battle power is rising. 10,000. 15,000. 20,000. 30,000. Jis yelled out. Huh. Ah. How did I forget? His most effective training method is meditation. In a cramped space like my spaceship, he would gain the most. Raditz suddenly understood. Piccolo's body was weaker than Saiyan's bodies, and he also trained much slower in gravity training. But Piccolo was very talented in training his ki by meditation. If not for Goku receiving a Zenkai back on Earth, Goku's battle power would be around 20,000 after so long. Of course, if Goku had been able to efficiently train in gravity during these 3 months they traveled in space, he would have a much higher battle power even without receiving that Zenkai. Captain Jinyu had wanted to step forward and fight Goku. But seeing Piccolo being so weak and had voluntarily stepped up, he let Berter fight first. Since you're voluntarily sending yourself to me, I won't reject it, Berter said and flew to Piccolo. That's weird, Piccolo couldn't achieve 3x Kaioken last time, unless you can do it now. He shouldn't be so confident. Raditz thought. Even though Piccolo's battle power was 30,000. Berter's ki was about twice as much as Piccolo's. Even if Piccolo activates 2x Kaioken, it would still be a very close fight. 2x Kaioken. Piccolo activated Kaioken and shot forward like a cannonball, sending a kick right onto Berter's left kneecap. Crack. A clear cracking noise came from Berter's left kneecap. It did not seem like his kneecap had broken, but it was most likely fractured. Aya! Berter yelled in pain. He did not expect the weak Namekian to suddenly ambush him like that. Beep! 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 Berter's scouter beeped after noticing the sharp increase in Piccolo's ki. What? Namekian! You actually hid your power. Your battle power is actually 60,000. Only slightly less than mine. You planned that sneak attack. Bert yelled indignantly. That's dirty. Guldo and Jees chimed in. Shit. So devious. Raditz was shocked. Piccolo had sneak attacked and fractured Berta's left kneecap. Now his battle power dropped significantly because he won't be able to put too much force into his left knee anymore. Both his speed and power had been badly impacted. Raditz even felt a chill down his spine. If two equal fighters fought each other, it was hard to tell who would be the victor, but if one of them manages to ambush the other, he would naturally win the fight easily. Raditz raised his guard and started building up his ki without releasing it. Piccolo continued fighting Berta while fully exploiting Berta's fractured kneecap. In just 10 minutes, Berta was reduced to a sorry state. Die. Piccolo saw an opening and went for the kill. He stabbed his right hand like a knife into Berta's chest and punctured his heart. Hey, hey, hey. Did you see that? Berta just got himself killed. Jees had an unnatural expression. What are we gonna do now? Guldo said distressed. Yeah, with one of us missing, our Jinyu Force fighting pose is incomplete now. Captain Jinyu agreed with their distress. Goku, Gohan, and Raditz had an odd look as they stared at the remaining Jinyu Force discuss their so-called distress. Piccolo had a poker face and no one knew if he was just indifferent or just good at keeping his face straight. But first, let us decide on a new fighting pose. Captain Jinyu started discussing again. Rikum was finally able to move about and the four of them started making foolish poses. Captain, our fighting pose doesn't look as striking with Berta missing. Jees complained. Damn it. Namekian, I'll make you pay. Captain Jinyu said angrily. Now it's my turn. Gohan stepped forward bravely and raised his ki. Beep. 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 Their scouters automatically scanned Gohan's battle power due to the sudden spike. It's 8,000. This runt can also freely control his battle power. Jees was shocked. It seems Raditz is also hiding his battle power. Interesting, looks like our fight won't be as boring as I had thought. Captain Jinyu smiled. Jees, be careful. Don't leave yourself wide open like Berta. Captain Jinyu reminded Jees to watch out for Gohan if he suddenly raises his battle power like all of a sudden like Piccolo. I don't recall Gohan having learned Kaioken. Raditz looked oddly at Gohan's bravery. Except for Guldo being really weak and having to mainly rely on his superpowers to stop time or paralysis, Rikum, Berta, and Jees all have a battle power around 60,000. 5 minutes later. An all beaten up and dust-covered Gohan lied on the ground. Ahahaha. You maggot. You actually dare to challenge me. You're just an insect. Jees laughed out loud while kicking the defenseless Gohan. Stop. Goku got angry and rushed forward. Bam! Goku kicked away Jees. Goku went forward and put a senzu bean in Gohan's mouth. Where did the senzu bean come from? It naturally came from Raditz's pouch. It happened so fast Raditz had only turned his head before Goku had already snatched his pouch filled with senzu beans from him. Raditz was left with 4 senzu beans since he had fed one to Goku and one to himself when he had returned back to Earth and fought Tolls. Now it was down to 3. That's dirty. We're fighting one-on-one. Guldo yelled. You. Jees wanted to curse, but seeing that it was Goku who Captain Jinyu had estimated to have a battle power of 80,000, kept his mouth silent. It seems Gohan has no awareness. We've been sparring too friendly recently that he did not think of the consequences of fighting someone much stronger. Raditz shook his head and stepped forward. Gohan did not jump around after healing up, therefore not shocking the Jinyu force. It was likely that he had learned his lesson and decided to not stand out and followed Goku back to their group. Alright, let's end this. Raditz said and started releasing his ki. You look confident. Just as I guessed, you all are capable of freely controlling your battle power. Captain Jinyu smiled and stepped forward. Beep. 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 Captain Jinyu tapped his scouter and scanned Raditz's battle power. 10,000, 20,000, 30,000, 40,000 and it's still increasing. No wonder you are so confident. Hee hee hee. Unfortunately for you, you have completely underestimated my, Lord Jinyu's real strength. Captain Jinyu was very confident in his battle power. 80,000. It's still increasing. 100,000. Jinyu was shocked. Impossible. How can a Saiyan have such high battle power? Jees said in disbelief. Impossible. Guldo and Rikom were shell-shocked. Ahem. Let's see. His battle power is 120,000. Only noticeable ability is Body Switch. Raditz sudden remembered Jinyu's ability. But it couldn't be helped. He had lived over 2 years now in the Dragon Ball world, 1 year in hyperbolic time chamber. It was natural for his old memories to get a bit rusty. Especially since he had merged with Raditz's soul and gotten his whole life several decades worth of memories. Raditz was just about to suddenly burst out with all his ki and instant kill Captain Jinyu, but somehow after seeing the Jinyu force's shocked expressions, he just couldn't help himself feeling smug and want to show off. Ha! Then let me show you my real power. Raditz said and clenched his hands into fists. Boom! A strong shockwave blasted out with Raditz in the center. It's over 200,000. Captain Jinyu yelled out in shock. It's still rising. The dwarf-sized green-skinned Guldo exclaimed and his body shook in fear. 300,000. 400,000. Impossible. Impossible. It's still rising. G stared in disbelief at the smug Raditz smile at them. Ha! Raditz yelled and pushed out all his ki. Boom! Yet another shocking shockwave shook his surroundings. Goku shielded Gohan from the shockwave blast. Wah! Guldo was just too weak and got flung away. While Rikom was stronger, he was in no condition to withstand the shockwave with his current injuries. Even Jis, who was uninjured, was pushed back by the shockwave. Wow! Uncle Raditz is so strong. Gohan said in worship. Piccolo was no longer calm after sensing that incredibly large ki release by Raditz. Goku just had a smile on his face. Since he was on site when Raditz had his Zenkai, he might not have felt it all too surprising. It's 620,000. I can hardly believe it. This is your real power. Captain Jinyu's body shook. Ah! Don't tell me. Don't tell me you're a Super Saiyan. Captain Jinyu said in shock. A Super Saiyan? The all-powerful warrior of legend? Jis yelled in shock upon hearing Captain Jinyu's guess. Arf! How? How could this be? Captain Jinyu shouted to the sky. He looked as if he had lost his mind. He is a Super Saiyan, the only thing that Lord Frieza fears. A Super Saiyan? Humph, ignorant fools. Raditz said in derision. Do you fools believe a Super Saiyan is only this strong? Too weak. How dare you insects compare a Super Saiyan with my 620,000 battle power? Raditz looked incredibly arrogant as he looked down on the Jinyu force in pure contempt. Is that so? I'm glad you explained. If you're not a Super Saiyan, then... Hey. Captain Jinyu had somehow calmed down all of a sudden. Jeez. Hold my scouter. Captain Jinyu took off his scouter and threw it to Jis. Captain Jinyu is going to... Jis mumbled after catching the scouter. Hey. I've taken a liking to your body. Captain Jinyu said and stabbed his own chest. Oh shit. Raditz had just managed to rein in his uncontrollable emotions upon seeing Captain Jinyu's actions. Because he knew just what Captain Jinyu was about to do, Raditz was feeling panicky. Raditz had just experienced the Saiyan gene's uncontrollable emotions, which had led to many Saiyans to make many foolish actions. Just like Vegeta in the original storyline had defeated the imperfect Cell that had only absorbed one android. Vegeta was so arrogant and had complete confidence in his own strength that he willingly helped Cell absorb number 18 and make Cell perfect. Likewise, Cell, who had the arrogant Saiyan genes, after becoming perfect was similarly arrogant and full of confidence. He had let Vegeta blast him with his strongest attack, which vaporized a small half over his right body. Wouldn't it be incredibly painful? Was Cell a masochist? Of course not, but he was too arrogant to dodge nor block the attack after being provoked and challenged by Vegeta to stand his ground and get hit by Vegeta's strongest attack. Cell continued being ever so arrogant to not kill everyone but to hold a tournament and let Goku and his team have another 10 days to train themselves. Cell even reminded them to bring plenty of senzu beans. Ultimately, his actions had led to his downfall. Raditz did not even have time to regret his earlier actions nor curse his Saiyan gene's uncontrollable emotions. Change! Captain Jinyu stretched out his arms and shouted. Damn it! 10x Kaioken! Raditz cursed and activated Kaioken and tried to get out of Jinyu's line of sight. Captain Jinyu's body started to shine yellow like a ball of light. Soon the light shot forward, and even though Raditz had tried to get away, the beam still hit him. Just as Raditz felt his soul being ripped from his body, a white light wrapped around him. He suddenly disappeared from his position. A few meters away, the air split apart and Raditz suddenly appeared on that spot. What happened? No, isn't this teleportation? Raditz mumbled in shock. Arg! Captain Jinyu coughed a mouthful of blood. The backlash from failing the body change hit him hard. Not to mention, he purposely severely hurt himself before he activated the body change. Die! This time, Raditz did not give Captain Jinyu another chance to activate his body change ability. With his 10x Kaioken still activated, Raditz appeared in front of Captain Jinyu before he even had the time to react. Raditz sent a punch to Captain Jinyu's head, a resounding explosion echoed. The force contained in that punch exploded Captain Jinyu's head like a watermelon exploding. White and red matter exploded in every direction. Goku, Piccolo, and Gohan was confused by the sudden turn of event. But seeing how frantic Raditz had been upon seeing that yellow light shot out from Captain Jinyu and after being teleported away, he had heaved a sigh in relief. They could conclude that the yellow light was very dangerous even for someone as strong as Raditz. Cough. A pink-skinned Yardration a small distance away suddenly coughed out blood and fell on his knees. Ah! You're the one who helped me out just now. You can teleport me from a distance? Raditz suddenly realized how he survived the earlier ordeal. The Yardrations was skilled in spirit control and could use this ability to heal and even teleport. He knew of instant transmission that was often used by Goku in the anime, but Goku always needed to be in contact with another person if he wanted to bring him with him in teleporting. Raditz had never expected the Yardrations to be so skilled to even be able to teleport himself away without touching him. Although the Yardrations seemed to have been hit by a backlash from doing such an action. Jimmu. Another Yardration appeared beside the kneeling and put his hand on the injured Yardration. A weak light shone on Jimmu, before he was healed. See Captain. Jis, Guldo, and Rikum were shocked by seeing their captain suddenly die. Our Raditz. You can't kill us. Frisia will avenge us if you dare. Jis yelled in panic. Are you dumb? Jinyu is already dead, do you think killing another would make any difference? Raditz sneered and appeared before Jis and chopped his head off with a knife hand. Guldo was scared out of his wits. He quickly held his breath to stop time and ran as far as he could before he ran out of breath and the time resumed. Guldo, you bastard. Rikum was heavily injured and could not run on his own. He cursed Guldo for ditching him. Guldo was out of breath and couldn't be bothered to waste his breath on speaking. He simply turned his head to look at Raditz before continuing running again. Die. Piccolo sent a kick to Rikum's neck, breaking it. Piccolo. He was already incapacitated. Goku shouted angrily. Raditz chased after Guldo. Each time he was about to hit Guldo, Guldo would hold his breath and avoid the attack. This continued for a while until Guldo's face turned blue from asphyxiation. Guldo had run out of breath and could only mouth the words "No" as he saw Raditz's fist land on his head. Raditz's fist met Guldo's pale face and like watermelon, Guldo's head exploded. Except for the Yardrations in the surrounding who had already experienced Guldo's superpower to stop time. Piccolo, Goku, and Gohan was shocked by Guldo's ability to dodge Raditz's attacks again and again. They had even thought Guldo could teleport. But they soon understood his ability's restriction after seeing him asphyxiation from holding his breath. Raditz quickly looked for their remaining scouters and destroyed them in case Frisia was able to listen in on them. Saviors, thank you for saving our planet. The surrounding Yardrations gathered together and thanked Raditz's group. Likewise, if not for your help in teleporting me away, I would not know what would have happened. Raditz looked at Jimmu and thanked him. Sigh. Just what is going on with me? First I foolishly rushed in and fought a life and death battle with Toes. And now I just jeopardized my life for. Raditz mumbled in fear upon remembering his earlier actions. Savior, it looks like your spirit is in disharmony. Luckily we Yardrations are skilled in spirit control and are willing to help you solve the disharmony between your body and spirit. A wizened Yardration stepped forward and offered. Disharmony of my body and spirit. Is this caused by my transmigration into Raditz's body? Raditz pondered. The elderly Yardration, Soma invited Raditz's group to their city and gave them a house to live in. Raditz followed Soma to fix his problem while the rest of the group started chatting with the surrounding Yardrations. The fleshly body is the vessel for the spirit, it also gives birth to many emotions to the spirit. The spirit by itself is emotionless and non-feeling, the body nurtures the spirit and guides its growth. Soma started explaining. The disharmony is caused by your spirit being shackled and restrained by your body. Your fleshly body is dominant and in control, while your spirit is enslaved by the desires of your body. Soma said. What? Raditz had a confused look. He didn't even know what this elderly figure was talking about. Soma explained that by following the body's desires will infuse his spirit with impurities and weaken his control. It's like a lazy man will continue becoming even more lazy and procrastinate even more. There was once a story of a man who saved an elderly man. The elderly man thanked the man and had his 3 grandsons stay with the man and obey all his orders for 20 years to repay him. The 3 grandsons were young, healthy and robust men filled with intelligence and vigor. The man's store was on the verge of bankruptcy. With the help of the 3 grandsons managing the store started prospering and expanding. In the first year, the man would help out in his store. The second year, the man would occasionally help out when the store was busy. By the 10th year, the man stopped going to his store. When he needed something, he simply ordered the grandsons. The 3 grandsons did all the house chores, cleaning the house, washing the clothes, cooking his meals and also completely managing his store. All the man did was go around the town and play or laze around at home. By the 20th year, the man no longer knew how to live and was completely dependent on the 3 grandsons. But, once they finished staying for 20 years, they simply packed their belongings, bowed and bid farewell and left the man all alone. The man's store was flourishing, but without the 3 grandsons managing it, in just a year, the man was bankrupt and living on the streets. Yet the man did not go look for a job to fill his stomach. The man simply laid on the ground waiting to be fed. Waiting until he starved to death. According to Soma, Raditz's spirit was filled with great amounts of impurities which led to him being enslaved to his body's desires. To regain control over his body and no longer be controlled by it, Raditz needed to purge the impurities in his spirit which had seeped in over the many years he had let his body reign him. What the? I've only been in this world for 2 years. Don't tell me the problem lays with the old Raditz's soul that I've merged with. Or is the merging that caused the problem? But according to the old man, it should be because the old Raditz's soul has been seeped with these impurities after indulging in his body's desires. Well, it is true that he's a big bully that enjoys bullying and slaughtering the weak. So by merging with Raditz's soul, I have not inherited all those impurities. Raditz had a wry smile as he hypothesized. Worry not, young man. Our race is skilled in spirit control and has many techniques fitting to purge these impurities and temper your spirit. The elderly Yardratian smiled and said. Although a large part of the planet's surface was badly damaged, the causality was less than Raditz's group had expected. In fact, even though many Yardratians were badly hurt or even killed by the Jinyu force. The truth was that most of them were clones, so only about a dozen Yardratians had died as opposed to the thousands the group had thought. Elder Soma taught Raditz their techniques to purge the impurities in one's spirit. And according to Elder Soma, Goku and Piccolo did not have many impurities in their spirit, and they had tempered their spirits quite well already. Gohan did not even have the slightest impurity in his spirit, but he had not started tempering his spirit. Elder Soma personally taught the 3 their special meditation technique to temper their spirit. Raditz not only had plenty of impurities in his spirit, but he also had never tempered his spirit. But first things first, he had to purge the impurities to some degree before he should start tempering his spirit. The only good thing was that Raditz's spirit was much bigger and stronger than others, which Raditz realized probably had to do with him fusing with the old Raditz's soul. Elder Soma presumed Raditz had a mutated soul, a stronger and bigger spirit had a much higher starting point. Although he was riddled with trouble right now, once he managed to purge the impurities, Raditz's spirit would gain much more and much faster while doing the same amount of spirit training. Thankfully, Elder Soma was one of the best in spirit control. Because Raditz had never trained his spirit, for him to purge the impurities on his own was very challenging for him. Elder Soma might not be able to fully purge all the impurities, but when there are so many impurities, he is able to at least scrape off the impurities on the surface. For 1 month, Raditz had to endure the pain from having his spirit stabbed by thousands of needles and his impurities extracted from his spirit. The pain was nothing like physical pain which Raditz had gradually gotten more used to, especially after his body almost broke apart from his fight with Tulls. The pain Raditz felt was directly from his mind and spirit. It was like his brain was stabbed repeatedly in thousands of spots every single time. It was like his soul was being stabbed and pulled apart. Raditz was screaming from the top of his lungs every single day. If others heard his scream, they would have thought Elder Soma was torturing Raditz. But Elder Soma seemed to have expected this and had brought Raditz to stay in an isolated room. After that 1 month, Elder Soma had removed roughly 50% of all the impurities, but it only meant that the fewer impurities one had, the harder it was to remove the remaining impurities. But the remaining 50% impurities was no longer possible to be removed with Elder Soma's help, and only Raditz himself could slowly purge the remaining impurities. After one torturous month, Raditz was finally relieved that he no longer needed to endure that soul-rending pain. Because, although Elder Soma had taught Raditz how to purge impurities so as to have Raditz quicker learn the technique after Soma let him experience it. But in order to actually use this technique, Raditz needed to temper his spirit until he had a certain level of control over his spirit. The basic to tempering one's spirit was to meditate in order to calm one's mind and spirit to achieve harmony. Naturally, those with fewer impurities in their spirit was able to achieve harmony much quicker. Once one achieved harmony in mind and spirit, one can generate an intangible will-like cloth that is used to grind and hone the spirit carefully. If careless, instead of tempering one's spirit, it can get damaged from grinding too hard like a cloth getting ripped into pieces. Thus, meditation was a slow and long process that required plenty of patience. Luckily, the Yardratians were weak and only good at one thing, and that one thing was spirit control. Their spirit tempering techniques were of a much higher level than Earth's. By spending the same amount of time to temper their spirit, their gains were more than threefold more. Thankfully, after having half of his impurities removed, Raditz was able to achieve harmony of mind and spirit and slowly generate his own will into a cloth. And because his spirit was much bigger and stronger, not only could he fold out the will cloth to hone a larger area of his spirit at the same time, he could also grind harder since it was much stronger. Thus, spending the same amount of time tempering his spirit, Raditz was finally able to experience what talent means. Piccolo had incredible willpower and patience, maybe due to the majority of his training consisting of meditation to improve his ki. Piccolo was the first to reach the qualified level in spirit to learn instant transmission. Although Piccolo was able to make clones and gigantify himself, after learning Yardratian's clone and gigantification techniques, his own clone and gigantification techniques had improved greatly. Goku had a great foundation as well, all thanks to Kami's teachings since Goku was a kid. After spending 6 months tempering his spirit, Goku was finally qualified to learn instant transmission. Maybe because it was not a combat-related skill, it took Goku 6 months to barely learn it. Gohan was earnestly tempering his spirit. Under Raditz's advice, Gohan also took some time to train in the gravity chamber to fully take advantage of his Saiyan blood. Raditz had fully experienced his advantage of having a much bigger and stronger spirit. After spending 6 months tempering his spirit, his gains were equal to 10 times that of Earth's normal training. That is to say, the 6 months Raditz spent tempering his spirit was equal to 60 months of normal training, which was equal to 5 years of training. After the group had stayed for 7 months, Raditz was also qualified to learn instant transmission. Maybe because of his spirit being bigger and stronger, or maybe because Raditz had a solid learning foundation from being a college student before transmigrating to the Dragon Ball world. It only took him 2 months to learn instant transmission. Raditz also tried to learn healing, clone, and gigantification. But healing was a much more advanced technique that even Piccolo did not manage to learn after trying to learn it for 6 months. Raditz spent 3 months learning clone and gigantification and decided to leave the healing for another time. The group had stayed on planet Yardrat for a whole year now and was getting weary of the life here. Of course, they did not forget to celebrate little Gohan's 6th year birthday. It was now age 764, March. The group wanted to teleport to Earth in order to save the 3 months traveling time by spaceship. But they were unable to sense anyone's ki from Earth due to the long distance. Raditz then proposed to teleport to King Kai, and then teleport back to Earth. Because King Kai's planet was located in the other world, the distance was non-existent, it was simply located in a different dimension. Thus the group was able to sense King Kai's ki and teleport to him, and then teleport to Earth. Raditz remembered how Gohan's lack of real battle experience had him directly challenge Jeese and would have ended up dead if he was alone. But neither he nor Goku had the heart to be cruel to a 6-year-old kid. Thus, Raditz decided to have Piccolo train Gohan. It was also a chance for the two of them to get close to each other like in the original storyline. Piccolo left for the mountains to go back to his own training. Raditz followed Goku and Gohan back to their home. Chi-Chi welcomed everyone warmly and immediately questioned them about their trip. They brought some Yardratian clothes, food and other souvenirs for Chi-Chi and talked about their trip in space. Though they left out about Gohan being badly hurt by Jeese, afraid Chi-Chi would go crazy. They also told Chi-Chi about the Yardratians' culture, technologies, and knowledge they had experienced. Of course, they left out that they spent the majority of their time there training. After spending a few days at home, Raditz told Goku about his plan to let Piccolo train Gohan. It might be some distance away from their home to Piccolo, but for those who could fly, it was a negligible distance. And for them who had learned instant transmission, it was merely a moment away. Goku really liked Piccolo and agreed to let him train Gohan. He felt Piccolo was very smart and mature and suitable to teach Gohan. They grabbed Gohan and after locking on to Piccolo's ki, they teleported over to him. Piccolo wasn't very agreeable, but after Gohan had also personally persuaded him, he reluctantly agreed to train Gohan. Brat, don't regret your decision. Once the training starts, there's no backing out. Piccolo said seriously to Gohan. Uncle Piccolo, don't worry. I'll train hard. Gohan nodded seriously. Raditz decided to stay over and spar with Piccolo, and also to avoid an angry Chi-Chi once she learns that Gohan will be staying away to train in martial arts. Goku waved goodbye and teleported back home and got an earful from Chi-Chi. Yet he never understood Raditz had purposefully avoided the crossfire by not coming back home for some time. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.